Okay, is everyone ready to roll before I call the meeting to order? So we have more people on Zoom than we do in true flesh and blood reality. So we're going to roll with this. I'd like to call this special open meeting of Quesnel City Council to order. And you'll see that we have an Indigenous acknowledgement there. I'm just by consensus, I'm not going to look for a motion just to approve the agenda. Everybody's happy with the agenda? Okay, we're not adopting any regular minutes. We have only one presentation / delegation, and that is our MP Todd Doherty coming in by Zoom. We have Councillor Rudenberg, and do we have any other councillors on Zoom? Oh, Scott Elliott, I see his name. And in person, we have Councillor Vick, Councillor McKelvey, and myself, and City Manager and Deputy Clerk Hartley. So maybe to start with, I'm going to let you jump in and lead off, Todd, because I understand that you have another appointment that's really going to cut this time period short. So I'll let you jump in first, and we've got 3 little issues that we want to discuss with you. Go ahead, Todd.
Sure, I'll just keep it brief. We are nearing the end of the fall session here in Ottawa. As you can imagine, it has been a busy one coming back in September, dealing namely with a lot of job losses within our province due to forestry closures and what have you. I apologize that we've just got notice in the last, 45 minutes that I have to speak coming up. But I do appreciate this time, and I want to offer this is that I think most of you, I know the mayor has my cell number. I know Joel does as well too. I'm available by text or by cell 24/7, and so if there are issues, please reach out to me anytime. You don't need a special meeting for us to have a conversation, and always I can be on a Zoom in no time as well too, so if needed. So I'll leave it at that, and I apologize for the shortness in time that we have today.
Okay, thank you, Todd. We'll jump right in. Certainly, we appreciate this opportunity to get together, and it would be great to see something more on a structured basis, so that we sort of have some regularity to our meeting.
I think we should. I agree. I think we should plan that.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
Just want to talk a little bit about the Quesnel Highway 97 north-south interconnector and how that impacts on the Quesnel River Bridge. We're not having very good luck in convincing the province to declare that as a project. It's all being designed, and we're all expecting it, but it's sort of stuck in the doldrums, and so we just want to sort of pass that over to you, not the project, but just the thinking on that, and if there's a way that this perhaps could be incorporated into the federal government's Build Canada plan and all the rest of it. Do you have any comments at this point?
I guess the question I would have is what has been the province's feedback as to why they won't move forward with it, and what are they looking for? And has there been any application federally for these funds in the last year?
I'm going to go to City Manager just to bring us all up to speed on that last question.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mayor. Good morning, Todd, and I can answer those questions. The feedback, generally speaking, has been that it's just a lack of funds from the provincial government, so that it's not a project that's on their priority list. Part of the issue, and the Mayor alluded to this, is that the project was designed in 2019, but after the weather events of 2021, the recovery money that was in MOT for those types of infrastructure projects all went to rebuilding the Coquihalla and then some of the road projects throughout your constituency here in the Caribou, which you may recall is called the Caribou Road Recovery Project. We believe that it's really a question of $1 to $2 million that's needed in funding in order to move this project to the functional design phase, in which case it then ends up on the capital list for MOT provincially. Right now, it is not actually technically a project, even though it's been designed. It's an idea. So in order for it to eventually be in line for provincial funding, it needs to be moved to the functional design phase. Our argument, and I think that the driving force behind connecting with you with that federal relationship, is to see if there's an opportunity to open doors in Ottawa, given the focus that the Prime Minister and federal government have put on trade corridors and British Columbia's importance to economic diversification away from the United States. Certainly between Caribou Gold, the expected expansion of the Blackwater mine, some of the investments in LNG out of Rupert, and now the MOU regarding a pipeline, whether or not that ever comes to fruition, there is a focus on northern BC, and we do believe that this investment actually, and we did an economic analysis of it earlier this year that shows there's a net benefit to British Columbia to this investment. So we do have, our council has a meeting scheduled with Minister Farnworth in January to get an update, but my direction from council has been see where you can open up relationships in Ottawa to find interest, given that focus on trade diversification in British Columbia being a key component of it. We see that corridor as essential to that piece. So any help that you can provide to that end would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Joel, can we have a conversation offline with yourself and Michael Bailey in my office, my chief of staff? Let's get a letter together from the mayor and council on this project, and then we will present it, hand deliver this ask to the ministers, in the appropriate ministers.
If council is amenable to that, I will work with Michael on that. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks.
Mayor, if I may for a minute here, the point that really has to hit home, Todd, is the fact, good morning, by the way.
Hey, how are you?
That this isn't a regional project. Unfortunately, it's been misconstrued at some level with some of our colleagues that this is specifically just a Quesnel project.
Right.
This is not a regional project. When you think, it's not like the bridge is just going to fall down overnight. We know that. There are a lot of things, when it comes to structure issues. But it has to, I think that's the point that really has to hit home, that this isn't a regional project. This is about the entire province.
100%.
Because there are a few ways of getting to the north from the south and backwards, if that goes.
Yeah,
So,
we're on the same page. I worked with Courtney on this earlier on, so I know it fairly well. So I 100%, that's exactly the direction that we would take. This is a critical connection, north-south corridor. That if something happens, we need this to be open. So. Yeah, 100%.
That was the point that I was embarking on.
Mayor, your mic isn't on.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the point that I was embarking on, to say that the province doesn't recognize this as a provincial project, rather as a local, or I guess a regional project. And actually, what happened was, when a resolution from the Caribou Regional District in support of this project went to the Union of BC Municipalities, it was mistakenly titled in the wrong way to indicate that, or to leave the impression that it was a Quesnel project. Okay,
yeah, that's actually, sorry, that's the background that I was looking for right there, because my understanding is that we had previously had this set up as a strategic corridor project, but I wanted to know why the province, that's the reason why I asked the question as to why the province has kind of backtracked on this. So
yeah, and we have huge support on this. We've got letters of support from just about everybody north of 100 Mile. And
Great.
So we'll leave that one and just move over to forestry.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you, but can we just get a quick resolution from council on that letter of support?
Okay, let's do that. Moved by Councillor Vic, seconded by Councillor McKelvey, and even Councillor Rudenberg. Oh, hi, Scott. Good morning. You flashed up there for a moment. Okay, are we all in favor of that? Carried unanimously. Okay, so we're good on that bridge project. We can quickly move over to the forestry issue. And I mean, we all know what's happening in forestry, and I mean, we have in the past lost a couple of mills, and we see what's happening in 100 Mile and in Williams Lake and Burns Lake and Fraser Lake and all the way down the line. So we are becoming increasingly concerned. In fact, I would say that this year's budgeting process is, for the city of Quesnel, is more on the edge than it ever has been in my long experience, where it's almost like we need to have a main budget and a shadow budget, you know, in the event of something that we hope won't happen, but when we see what's happening, you know, to our neighbors, it is a great concern. So Todd, did you want to have anything to add there?
Yeah, it's, you know, I'm deeply familiar with it. You know, I've been fighting across the floor to try and get both in Ottawa and in the province, and in Victoria. Let me be pretty clear on that. It is absolutely, it's frightening as to what can happen. I mean, you lose. Look at 100 Mile. Use them as an example. You know, they lose their mill, 165 jobs. That's 165 jobs. What about the multiplier on top of that? That impacts everything. Let's talk about the tax base. That's $1 million out of a $3 million budget that is gone. Williams Lake loses Drax last week, or the announced Drax closure last week. That's another $200,000-300,000 from their municipal tax base. We've been fighting here in Ottawa on that. We organized an emergency debate, which I will add this. It is the first time that we've been successful in getting an emergency debate on forestry in 3 parliaments, which is shameful. And we've been up a number of times pressuring the government on this. They keep saying they're coming out with packages for the workers. Last week we said that, you know, our line is like, look, the packages are fine, but they want jobs. And furthermore, this is the tax base for our municipalities that are drying up. And so we're fighting here. I'm not quite sure there's anything more that we can do to try and push these guys on the other side. The reality is it hasn't been a priority for 10 years for the government. And we know that both provincial governments and federal governments have a lot to, the blame falls squarely on at their feet. And so, you know, I'm quite worried as to what the future lies for us that in our communities that are dependent on forestry.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone on council want to jump in here at this point? Councillor Rudenberg.
Okay, so we all know part of the problem is we don't have the trees. We know that. We also know there are some policies in place that kind of take some of the trees off the table. But I think being forward thinking with these communities, you cannot expect a 50-year-old or a 55-year-old man to retrain for some job that is going to last him if he's lucky, or if it's even available in his community.
That's right.
So how do you support? The question for me is, how do you support the mills and their innovations that they can do, that they can make use or better use or keep products more into BC, making them, then shipping them off to be done? And so those are the components I think that need to be looked at more than trying to find more trees and keeping more mills open. It's about what we have and how do you make sure that those mills stay open and that they're innovative enough that they can keep their workers working there. So for me, it's about a different mindset than thinking that we can, open more mills and find more trees, because we know trees take 100 years to grow up north here to be worthwhile harvesting. That's tongue in cheek, sorry. But I think it's about how do we keep the mills, how do we support mills to be innovative, to be able to keep their products flowing, so that they can maintain these good paying jobs. Because again, so it's $1 million hit to 100 Mile. Who knows what a hit is to Quesnel if a mill goes
That's
down?
right.
I mean, I don't know. We've seen it happen here before. It's not $1 million. It's much more than $1 million. So how do we support those mills? And I think that, some of the thinking has to shift that way. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor Vic now.
Hi, Todd. I just,
Hey, Vic.
notwithstanding the good points from Councillor Rudenberg, I want to know how you've been able to keep the government's feet to the fire on coming to some kind of trade resolution on the topic of softwood lumber. I know that their dance partner is not willing to dance right now, but what can be done is there anything that you've been able to do to instigate forcing some conversation on that file? And then on the other side of that is what work can we do with your assistance to explore other trade alternatives with industry support? Because if we don't have the dance partner down south, we're going to need to find other dance partners.
Yeah, that's a great question, Councillor Vic. So we've been very, very vocal on this file for 10 years. As a matter of fact, the first, I was looking at the history of me speaking about softwood and forestry. My very first speech, December 8th, 2015, my maiden speech, I spoke about the importance of forestry within our region. Councillor Rudenberg is right. We need to look to ways to innovate. My pushback on the government, and I will say this, it's really become a topic in the House of Commons because we've made it a topic in the House of Commons in the last couple of months. Our pushing, we were the ones, it was my office, our office, that managed to get that emergency debate pushed through, where we fought for about 5.5 hours, 6 hours, and brought up all the issues regarding softwood and forestry. We have to look at, my issue with the money that they're giving now or that they're promising is exactly what Councillor Rudenberg said, is that, well, those jobs are gone and there's no other job for those people that are displaced to go to. And when they're in their 50s or mid-50s and they've done this all their life, what can we train them to do? Because we don't have that other industry that's coming in behind to really fill that gap. And I think that as a community or as a region is something we really have to wrap our heads around, and working with the industry. I don't believe, I think there's fiber available. We harvest less than 1% of our annual allowable cut. We know that we've got fiber available. I think that the provincial policies have made it harder for forestry companies to access it. They have to go further away, which makes it more difficult to make a mill or that production viable. So I think there has to be a righting of the ship within the industry, but provincial and federal policy definitely has to be there, and it has to be a priority for our federal government. I don't know if you saw my questions that I asked on Friday, where I was absolutely exasperated. We've got colleagues across the way that say that we're making it up when we're talking about the job losses within our communities, or that we lost yet another mill. They're sitting there laughing, saying that we're making it up, and that is what is deeply frustrating, because I hear the stories every day of a family that is facing uncertain economic times, especially at this time of the year. And our communities are facing very uncertain times. And so I think that we have to get industry around the table and get our federal government to make forestry a priority. And I'm hoping that with the continued push that we've been able to do within our party and the other opposition parties on this government, that hopefully they'll be at the table again regarding forestry and softwood in the new year.
Okay, thank you for that, Todd. Councillor Elliott, I don't see your picture on the screen. Did you have anything to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay, you're
I
good.
appreciate Todd's time and the questions that have been asked and answered. So thank you.
Thank you. Before we leave the forestry file, I'd just like to ask you, Todd, if you see anything in the government's recent announcements regarding, I guess, capturing softwood that is normally bound for the U.S. and diverting it to new housing in Canada. If there's, if there's anything there that you can point us, any direction that you can point us in, we would appreciate it. And just on the question of fiber, I spend a lot of time in the bush, and I maintain that fiber is plentiful, particularly residual fiber on the forestry land base. And it seems to me that the bureaucracy and, to an extent, big business is frustrating the fiber capture of that residual fiber. So we've certainly got our eye on that, because I think that particularly when it comes to residual wood fiber, there's value there, but it seems to just get burnt out on the forestry land base.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I've got one other item here that I just want to touch on, and it has to do with public safety, and that's a situation that is not unique only to Quesnel, it's all over. But I'm sort of watching what's coming out from government in terms of new legislation, and I don't even know the name. I don't have the name of the new legislation here in front of me. But
C-14.
yeah. So do you see opportunities in that legislation? Do you have some comment on that? Because when I read through it, I do see some promising news, but whether or not that ever comes to pass is a very good question. I don't have a whole lot of faith in seeing it materialize.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I've been on this file quite a bit regarding the bail reform, primarily because of the mental health component and how that impacts our communities, as well as my piece of legislation that I have before the House, violence against first responders and healthcare workers, which the government had said that, which passed unanimously in last Parliament, should have been law by now. But fell off at dissolution of Parliament in January. And we've been pushing in the last 3 months on this. Look, I think it's too little too late. I know that there are some organizations that have looked at C-14 in its entirety and says it makes some there are some good changes, but I think that there's other areas within the bill, within the framework, that it doesn't go far enough. Look, we need to be able to give our municipalities, policing is the #1 cost for municipalities all across our country. It's something that we are, and especially when we're gripped in a mental health and drug crisis, opioid crisis that we have, which we see, that impact is being felt nowhere more than in our communities and directly there and directly in the budgets of our small communities. So there are a few things that I would recommend that we're pushing. Our colleagues that sit on the committee that will be reviewing C-14 is that we need more money that's in for policing. We need more money in terms of mental health and supports for our communities. We need to make sure that our prolific offenders are locked up and that they're not given the chance to get back on the streets and kind of wreak havoc within our communities. I believe the other side has heard the message. The minister responsible is Sean Fraser, who's a friend of mine, and we've talked at length regarding the piece of legislation. That being said, C-14 is still a long ways away. It's still being debated, and it's not coming into law before the end of the year, and we need help now. Our communities need help now, so we'll continue working through that way. I think the best thing that we can do is exactly what we're doing right now, is having this open line of communication so that you can continue to tell me how the current policies are impacting our community, and I can filter that to the minister to try and influence their policy.
Okay, thank you for that, and I guess that sort of leads to, a point that I'd like to make regarding our future meetings. I think it would be great to be able to schedule to have you appear as a delegation at an open council meeting in the flesh with everybody around the table. I think that would
Love that.
And if we could maybe aim to have that at least once, possibly twice a year.
Yeah, I think that's very doable. Would love that. And then, as always, my commitment to you is that I'm available 24/7 via text should you need anything. So text or call.
Okay, tell me, Todd, how are you doing for time at this point?
12:27, I think I probably have to be up at for practice in 3 minutes. But I'm good right now. I'll make it up there, and I'll plead forgiveness afterwards.
Okay, so we'll leave it right there. I'll just give my fellow councilors any other closing opportunity to make a comment. I don't see that anywhere, so thank you, Todd. Good luck on the Hill, and
Thank you.
We'll see you down the trail. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas to you guys.
Okay.
Merry Christmas, Todd. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. You're excused to go. We've just got a little housekeeping to
Okay.
go through to close down the meeting.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Todd. I'm just looking at the agenda, item G through P. We don't really have any need for activity on that, so I would like to have a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor McKelvey, seconded by Councillor Rudenberg. I saw your hand. So we adjourn here at precisely 9:30. Thank you.